Hello there, I'm Puck Gamer. Today, we're going to be going over the Mesa battery build guide. Now, I know some of you have been waiting for this for a little while, and I'm going to be showing off two builds. One you've seen partially, and another one's a little bit more of a surprise. But first, we're going to go over the main build, the weapon platform build. First off, we're going to go over the base build. This is the mod I'm running. There's no big outstanding thing. There are two things, or actually three things I want to mention real quick. One, I would recommend running evade. I know it's weird to overplace the regulators, but trust me when I say this. One, this will give you a ton of survivability. Two, arcane cast, or I don't know how to pronounce that. I think it's a crispicular or something like that. Gives you 30% more ability strength, which will help you scale up your battery, and gives you 3 times final crit chance, which becomes very useful when you combine that with the third thing, Ballistic Bullseye. Ballistic Bullseye gives you 50% final crit chance, which I think this, I don't know, I'm not 100% sure, but I do think that overlaps with this. So this will get that 3 times bonus. If I'm correct, maybe? I don't 100% know. And then Energize for the extra energy, which you don't necessarily need to run Energize. I just recommend it. I don't think there's anything else outstanding you can run per se that would buff it anymore. Um, that's pretty much the thing. I would recommend running Adaption because you don't really get any type of status defense. Shattering Shield should give you enough because that 95% mixed with Shooting Gallery. So yeah, the two weapons I'm gonna be using is the Czar and the Coda Pox. This is my Zara build. If you want to see it, I'm using Deliberate because this thing's just straight up broken, and all these mods. This seems to make a decent build. There's probably a few things like I don't have this slot, so I'm just using Ammo Drum. You could probably get extra damage, like one of the bands or something on there, whatever you want. It's up to you, if I'm being honest. Then you have the Coda Pox, which, no, it's strange that I'm not running Irradiate, but you'll see why in a second while I'm not running Irradiate. I am running a QD on both of them, I'm pretty sure. From what I remember, yeah. I'm running a QD on both because it's kind of needed. You don't necessarily have to use these, but if I'm being dead serious, I would recommend running at least the Czar. Maybe not the Coda Pox, that's up to you, but I recommend using any type of like heavy hitting crowd control weapon, because trust me when I say this, it mixes really well with this build. Ultimate, I'm using the Verizon one. Recommend doing it if you are going to use this. I would use probably the extra. Bro, this mother. Okay, I'm actually. If he invites me, sorry, one of my friends just started like spam inviting me to a voice chat. But not a voice chat to playing 6, which I'm not playing R6. I don't even have it downloaded. But I would recommend running Heat on, I forgot what it's called. I would recommend running the Heat Arcane for this, because on this just straight up will add to secondary damage. Just get it. It helps a lot. I would say these are probably the best arcanes. This was the same thing I'm running on my Heat DPS build. This probably works as well with this too for that secondaries. So that just buffs the Coda Pox even more. Reason why I'm running a melee weapon, I'm gonna show you something. I found something out while testing. Don't necessarily think you should use it because you don't get the damage buff, but I will show you something that is crazy with the melee weapon. But getting to the build, I'm running Nautilus, so this gives a little bit of status proccing, which is really useful. But you'll see in a second, the way you use this, you want to go evade, shooting gallery, ballistic battery, shoot once, shoot twice, ballistic battery triggers, go like that, and just repeat that process. You may lose evade That doesn't really matter. Evade's more of a damage buff, if anything, for you. You could run Shade, but because of how it works, you'll immediately disrupt it. I don't think it's worth to run. But that's the Czar. And then you have... The Czar pretty much cloud clears. You saw a good portion of the enemies. And the reason why I have the Nautilus for grouping up is for the Coda Pox, which, for some weird reason, I'm going to show you this. I'm going to do this, then we're going to hit this. You can do this. And for some reason, the Coda Box and Inebriate, when you add them together with Ballistic Battery and that final 3x crit chance, this thing hits like a truck. And it also affects the overtime damage from the Aftermath. So if you hit it like in a crowd, all these enemies take right crit damage over time. And if you just saw like those two enemies, this just disappear. Gone. And when you mix that with Arcane Hotshot, when you mix that with the Heat Archon Crystals and the ultimate weapon that gives you the bonus heat damage with when you kill enemies with it, that Arcane, this will basically go into like maybe 6 million a hit, I think. Haven't tested it, I need to. But we'll just put it at stupidly high damage. Short and simple. That is the platform build. This build is like really fun. Would I think it's 100% necessary? No. This is more for playing around. It works. It's really good. I've tested on Stillpath. It works really well. But there is one more thing. The melee weapon. You may be wondering, hey, aren't you not supposed to be running a melee weapon with Mesa because you get like that bonus 50 HP or whatever? Yes, but no. I found out Ballistic Battery can be triggered by the melee weapon. Like this right here. It actually gives you percentage on the melee weapon. Same thing with Zaws. The Zaw cannot actually, when you throw it, cannot actually use the Ballistic Battery. But for some reason, Glaives can. You don't get the damage buff, but you do get the crit chance buff. So when you do that, then you mix it with something like this. You get that. You don't necessarily need to use this, but if you wanted to use a glaive build, so you can get infinite glaive red crits, don't mind why the damage is low. I'm not really that good of a glaive build, but like, just giving you a heads up, you could technically run glaive with this. You won't get the damage buff, but it will stack up to like twice, I think. So you can necessarily switch to one of your other weapons and abuse that extra damage. But it works. I'm not personally gonna run it, but it works. Just saying. The other build being the Battery Boom Overload, which this build a little bit different. This is more for uniqueness. The first things first, I will have to say this: you need Nullstar. This build is abusing the spaghettification code of Nullstar. I learned something recently. Nullstar gets buffed, or does not get buffed, but does weapon damage. So it can actually trigger and use Ballistic Battery. It can't use the crit chance, but it can use the damage. So you don't run, instead of running Ballistic Bullseye, you want to run Neuron Star, so you can get the extra heat damage. Because what it does is you can re-trigger the ability, and it goes everywhere, which means it can trigger the Archon Crystals. So your secondary is going to get a bunch of damage. It can use Arcane Cuspicilia, because Shade, it can be abused, and then you get that 30% ability strength because of Shade, because it makes you invisible. And fun fact, Null Star doesn't get rid of the invisibility. So that's an extra layer of protection on top of that. And obviously Shooting Galleon is going to get buffed. Shattering Shield's going to buff you. Want to run Archon Vitality, so you can get the heat plot twice, because I think I've seen this thing go up to like 100 heat. It's stupid. But once you add all of those together, Let's just go out to the enemy, see what happens. You go invisible, right? Trigger this. And you just keep doing it. Shooting gallery does actually buff it. There's probably some other ways you can buff the damage. Maybe like wall latch. I wouldn't do it personally because I do not like very manual builds like that. But and you won't take any damage because you're invisible. And you effectively just spam Null Star and Battery, and you effectively can just nuke rooms. And you effectively can just do this as much as you want. And you can see that because of my shade, it procs the enemies. It can basically give them status effects, and that also will scale up the damage. And you effectively just spam the 2 buttons, and it nukes the entire room. Takes a little bit, and it may seem like it takes too long, but you gotta think this was without all the enemies being status. This is only a few at a time. You gotta think with viral, cold, everything, scaling it up even more, not including your teammates giving you extra ability strength. Overall, it's stupid. It's just broken. I genuinely love this, how stupid this build is. Literally, you can sit around and do nothing. I'm also running the Grimoire for if you want to buff your ability strength even more. Use Bone Invocate or Invocation. Don't necessarily need to use this. I'm kind of just using this for the extra ability strength. You don't even need to because you're always constantly invisible. But if you don't want to go invisible, you can use Grimoire. I would recommend the Shade build though. So why I say recommend using Shade, Ghost. It cloaks the owner when you're near enemies, but it will be disrupted if you use weapons. Why this doesn't count for Null Star is beyond me, but it works. That's all I have to say. It works. And that's pretty much the Mesa build. Or the 2 Mesa builds, if you want to say. Both nuke and platform with battery. But that will be all for me, folks. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more Diabolical Warframe build guides, do me a favor and subscribe. I'll be working on more builds. If you can't see, my loadouts are slowly filling up. I need to buy more. But that's all for me, folks. I'll see you next time.